Hello everybody, it's Fufu here, and today we're going to be talking about how to use status Z moves. I've already done a video about attacking Z moves, so if you haven't seen that, go and check it out. But today it's going to be status Z moves. So what are status Z moves? Well, they're Z moves based on non-damaging moves like Growl, Taunt, etc. I'm not going to list them all here because obviously there are so many non-attacking moves. What the move does is it does its normal effect, but then there's always an added effect when it's a Z move. For example, Z Growl raises the user's defense before doing its normal attack drop against the opponent. To use them, you still need the appropriate Z crystal, and it can only be used once per battle, so you have to make sure that this one move is worth sacrificing your item for. So which status Z moves are worth using? Well, I'm going to deal with them in two categories. I'm going to look at stat boosting status Z moves, and then I'm going to look at Z moves with an extra effect. So there are some Z moves that can boost a Pokemon stats, and this can be boosting one stat or multiple stats, and it can be boosting that stat by 1 stage, 2 stages, or even 3 stages for one particular Z move. So what you want to look for is Pokemon that aren't able to boost the stat you want to boost already, because you only get one shot with the Z move, and if you can boost that stat already with other moves, it's normally better to go with them. So for example, a Z move that can boost your attack, if it already learns Swords Dance, you're probably better just using Swords Dance. But a really good example of this is Hooper Unbound, that is very, very powerful but has average speed and isn't able to boost it normally. But now with Z Trick, it's able to get a +2 boost to its speed, and that is fantastic. It wasn't able to do that before, and now this gives it a very scary cleaning option. It could clean up teams at the end because it boosts its speed and already has that ridiculous offensive presence, and it can sweep. So Hooper Unbound with the Psychium Z and Trick is a really interesting one to look at, and speed boosting in general is quite a good option to look for. Other good options I would say are attack and special attack, because if you can boost them and you're a fast Pokemon, you could potentially get sweeps that way. It is really like a one-shot way of trying to sweep. So you either already need to be fast and boost your attack or special attack, or you need to be powerful and boost your speed. That's my way of looking at it. I think that defense boosts aren't as useful because you only get one chance of doing this, and if you do that, you're kind of saying, okay, I'm gonna just sit here until I win, and I'm just gonna be that bulky, and I don't think that many Pokemon are able to do that, so I wouldn't look at defense boosts too much. You can consider evasion boosts. I don't like it because it's very luck based, and in the Smogon tiers that I play, it's actually banned. Evasion boost is banned. It's luck based, it's not skill based. It can be quite powerful, but it's not in your hands, and I don't think it's a very good tactic to employ. There are some status Z moves that boost the critical hit chance of your Pokemon, and a cool example of that is a Flyinium Z Tailwind Honchkrow, because you'll be able to set up the Tailwind, and with the Z move you get a boost to your critical hit chance. Honchkrow also gets the ability Super Luck, so that can also boost your critical hit ratio, meaning that you'll always be critting and doing a lot more damage. So that's a really cool option to run. It's very gimmicky, but it can be very fun. And there's also the chance to boost accuracy. And again, this one's a bit weird, but a cool one that I've seen is Psychium Z Trick Room Exeggutor, so that you can set up the Trick Room. Exeggutor is quite slow anyway, so you'll probably go first the next turn. With Psychium Z Trick Room, you get a boost to your accuracy, and then Exeggutor's Sleep Powder will be more accurate the following turn, so you'll be able to put something to sleep, and that can be really, really fun to use too. As well as the Z moves that can boost a single stat, there are Z moves that can boost all of your stats by 1 stage, so that is very powerful. But fortunately or unfortunately, these Z moves do not have very wide distribution, so only a few Pokemon have access to these, and the best one at the moment is definitely Porygon Z with Z Conversion. Now, as I say, this boosts all of its stats by +1, so that's attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. And it also has the effect of conversion, which is really interesting in its own right. That changes Porygon Z's typing to the typing of one of its moves, which you can choose by the move order, and it makes it a very powerful Pokemon. Porygon Z has decent speed, so at +1 speed it will outspeed most things used competitively at the moment. It also has very good special attack, so it will be hitting very hard at +1. It also gets the ability Adaptability, which powers up its stab moves even further, so it does hit very, very hard. And then it gets boosted defenses, which means that it's going to be harder to revenge kill. Priority can't pick it off as easily. So in one turn, Porygon Z becomes a sweeping monster. It does get the attack boost, that's slightly irrelevant. But yeah, it becomes very, very scary, and you can play around with it in terms of the typing you change into with the conversion, so that's definitely a set to watch out for. At the moment, there isn't too much else that is abusing it, but there are a number of different Pokemon that can get it, but Jirachi will have access to it too after Pokebank comes out, and that is a very scary idea indeed. It's worth noting that most setup moves already, they do turn into status Z moves. However, most tend to have the effect of resetting all your stats before you get the boost. So that could be useful if you're planning on going up against a sticky web team, or if the opponent has a lot of intimidate, but most of the time it's very situational. You might get into a matchup which has none of those things, and in that case the Z move would be completely useless. So I would say probably a different item is much better for these options. So now I'll talk about the added effects that aren't stat boosts. One important one is healing. Some Z moves provide healing, and some people would quote Stockpile as a good move to use here. You can boost your defenses and then use it as a way of healing as well, but I don't like the defense boosts. I don't think you're just going to sit there and win, and if your only way of healing is with a Z move, you're only going to be able to heal once. So I don't think that this is a very good tactic at all. One healing Z move definitely worth mentioning is Z Belly Drum. This fully heals your Pokemon before going for Belly Drum, which cuts your HP by 50% and gives you max attack. So it sacrifices your own HP to hit so hard, but if you can fully heal your Pokemon, then you'll always get that Belly Drum off, which is really, really good, and it can really help out Pokemon like Azumarill and also sub Belly Drum sets. So if you want to get a substitute up, you can go for the Belly Drum without fearing of cutting your HP down too much by going for substitute. So I think that that's a really, really cool option that should be terrifying to face. A couple of really interesting ones for doubles format are Z Destiny Bond and Z Grudge, mainly Z Destiny Bond really. And what this does is it makes the user of the attack center of attention. So like Follow Me, if your opponent targets one of your Pokemon, Z Destiny Bond will force them to target the Destiny Bonding Pokemon. And obviously that's great for Destiny Bond because it means that you're more likely to be taken out by the opponent, and therefore they will more likely go down because of Destiny Bond. So that's a really interesting way of using Destiny Bond in doubles, I think, and it's a really cool strategy. And the final Z moves that I want to mention in my two videos are my favorite two Z moves. They're Z Parting Shot and Z Memento. These are so great. Unfortunately, there's a glitch on Wi-Fi at the moment so that you can't use these in Wi-Fi battles, which is a real shame, but you can use them on Pokemon Showdown, and I really, really love them. What they do is they have their normal effect of lowering your opponent's offenses. Parting Shot switches you out as you lower the opponent's offenses by one stage, and Memento means your Pokemon will faint, but it causes the opponent to have -2 attack and -2 special attack. When you combine this with the Z move, they both fully heal the incoming Pokemon on your side. So you'll go for a Parting Shot, lower the opponent's offenses, and then bring in your Pokemon, and it gets fully healed. That means all of its HP back and any status healed too. So that's very, very powerful. It can completely change the tide of battle in your favor. The Pokemon that can use these moves effectively for Memento, I would say consider Whimsicott. And Pyukumuku is quite interesting to use that one as well. Muck gets it as well. There are a couple of others. I think those three are pretty good though. And in terms of Parting Shot, I love Alolan Persian. It has very good speed, so it can Parting Shot around very easily, and it has that Fur Coat ability, which means that it can tank some hits and makes for quite a nice utility set. Silvally can also be a good Parting Shot user because it has generally good stats. It can take attacks, and it has some other good utility moves like Thunder Wave, so that can use that Parting Shot move too. And these moves I absolutely love. So those are some of the Z moves I think that are worth mentioning, some that boost stats and then some that have additional effects. One thing to say now is that I think it's a really nice thing to do to try and pick a Z crystal that will allow you to do either an attacking move or a status move depending on the situation. This isn't always possible, but a really nice example for this is Manaphy. You can use Rain Dance with Manaphy and obviously have a water move like Surf. because Manaphy is really powerful at setting up with Tail Glow, raising its special attack by 3 stages. It can't normally boost its speed, but Z Rain Dance gets up the rain, which is good. It boosts its water move. It also means that it gets that hydration, so if the opponent tries to status you, you can heal that off with hydration. But what it also does is it gives you +1 speed because it's a status Z move, so you can get that speed boost and get the Tail Glow boost and sweep teams. But if you aren't able to get that Rain Dance off, if the opponent's pressuring you, or if you just want to do something different, you can nuke the opponent by using a water attacking Z move with the Surf. Because you're holding the Waterium Z Crystal, you can either go for the Z Rain Dance or the Hydro Vortex with Surf, which is just a nuke that will hit really hard. So it's really cool to have those 2 options for Manaphy, and I'd advise you to try and look for those options elsewhere too. So for example, I mentioned Destiny Bond in doubles. Some people have run Gengar with a Ghostium Z, and that can run Z Destiny Bond or use the attacking move based off Shadow Ball. So that's really cool and definitely the best way to maximize your Z moves in my opinion. So that is my take on status Z moves, and I think that these are the best ways to use them. Let me know if you've thought of any creative ways to use these status Z moves. I really would like to hear some really funky stuff that you're using. I think there's so much potential with these, the stat boosting ones as well. There are so many different moves that you can use with this, so please let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, and also consider watching my attacking Z moves video if you haven't already seen it. And if you do like this kind of content, maybe consider subscribing to my channel, because there's definitely more on the way. All that's left to be said is I've been Fufu, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.